So the recent adjustment of salaries for civil servants is a welcome development, obviously, because the current salaries were quite low. A significant number of civil servants were below the poverty atom line. And in a way, what it was doing, it was affecting demand. The aggregate demand was very low. Business was feeling the pinch. So obviously, what we expect is that there should be improvement in demand, and that will help business to push sales. But what is very important going forward to look at also is that there are a number of consequences which are going to come with this decision. Government had no choice, but I think what needs to be looked at is that the increase in US dollar salaries will expedite and reinforce dollarization, but in a way, it is also going to create more pressures and risks going forward, particularly in the creation of fictitious or fake US dollars. We should expect increase in volumes of transactions in US dollars, where civil servants will be transacting, and the natural private sector will also follow suit in increasing salaries. So we will see increase in RTGS, US dollars in RTGS forms, which will take us from a full dollarization approach to a reversal, to a situation where we are moving back to Zimbabwean dollar. In short, we are starting now a journey of a replay of the 2013 to 2018 period where we had US dollars, but they were now fake US dollars. So when we approach August, September, October this year, we should be seeing difficulties in the movement of payments because of the creation of fake US dollars as a result of transactions coming on the back of US dollar salaries. One thing which is also of concern to us as economists is the clarity about government's ability to pay these recent adjustments in terms of salaries. I've not seen sufficient information in the public domain as to how much US dollars government is holding in their purse, which then demonstrate their capacity to pay the current adjustments. I still see a risk of further adjustment of salaries because government has already increased the salaries of the security sector by 400%, and these current adjustments, as far as I'm concerned, for the rest of civil servants falls short of 400% increase. So naturally, I still think that government will be pushed to raise to 400% adjustment. And if they get to that point, which is a possibility, that will push us into a budget deficit because our current budget has no provision for 400% salary adjustment. And that will also require debt financing, which will create challenges in terms of inflation and also exchange rate spiral. But I think what is very important to also pinpoint is the component of the adjustment of salaries on the Zimbabwean dollar. 100% adjustment, good as it is, because the current levels of 35,000 RTGS is quite low. The challenge is that these civil servants are facing a market with at least 80% circulation of transaction in US dollars, and in some sectors like pharmaceuticals is 100%. So what it means is that these civil servants will be forced to go in the black market and change the Zimbabwean dollars into US dollars, and we should expect the rate to start to pick up in a faster pace going forward, particularly starting now as they are getting their salaries and going into the near future. So the rate will pick. I won't be surprised within a month seeing the rate stands hovering around 1.5 thousand Zimbabwean dollars against $1 US, and again increasing this disparity between the two exchange rates, the formal and the black market rate. So those are the kind of dynamics at play. But in summary, I would want to say that government has no choice. It was going to happen. They were going to adjust salaries. But I think what is very important now going forward is for government to work around how do we deal with fake US dollars. And that is a real threat which we are facing now. And I think one way to look at it is to look at the interest rates, which had 50%. They're actually deepening the use of the approach to US dollars, particularly when companies are borrowing, because it's very difficult to borrow at 150%. So I would want to recommend that the government reduces the interest rate to below 100%. With regards to inflation, we will never know the correct levels of inflation coming on the back of this adjustment of salaries, because the Zimbabwean dollar inflation has been banned, the estimation of Zimbabwean inflation. And unfortunately, it's as good as stopping drugs for hypertension, and nature will take its own course. If you don't take those drugs, you continue to suffer from hypertension, and you can even die out of it. So it's the same as banning the Zimbabwean dollar inflation. We have a blackout in terms of its reports, but in the real sense, the households and businesses will continue to suffer from steep inflation. I was estimating inflation to be around 400% by June, and I'm still convinced that even if government would have banned it, you will see that those levels we can attain it. And we will only see exchange rate as an indicator of how things are happening. But I still see that there will be steep inflation. The blended inflation one, as far as I'm concerned, is not a correct representation of inflation in Zimbabwe. You can't mix US dollar inflation and you take a weighted average of US dollar inflation and Zimbabwe dollar inflation to report on inflation. These are wrong. You are mixing okra and milk to make a dish. It's not going to work. So there will be blackout in as far as inflation is concerned, but we'll feel it in the shops. We'll see it also through the exchange rate. I think that is how I'm seeing going forward.